Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Yes, pleased to be here, Kimberly. I'm Randy Brown, and I hail from Fort Dodge, Iowa, in the northwest corner of the state of Iowa.
Wow. How far are you from Sioux City, Iowa?
Just about 2 hours.
Okay, you go. And we've been waiting and waiting, and I want to know about your past leading up into your present. You have a really, really special story, Randy, and tell it all.
Well, thank you. Uh, I just know this, and I'm blessed as anyone can be to be with you today, to be sharing this story. Um, what you do as a podcaster is really amazing. You plant seeds every time you release one of your episodes. You're planting seeds into the future of this world because the great thing about storing audio and have it, we're in a situation where a person can listen to any of your episodes at any given time. And what we don't know as people who are in our line of work is we don't know when somebody's going to turn on your podcast or read a chapter of my book or hear me at a speaking engagement or read one of your articles. But it's out there. And when they do, it could literally profoundly change their life. So I want to encourage you. You're doing such an awesome job with your podcast. Just encourage you to keep going because you are planting seeds and saving lives. And I feel like I'm doing the same thing because, like I say, we're both in the same work. Listen, my story is really pretty simple. It's not an easy one, but it's a pretty simple story. You're talking about the guy who grew up the son of a sports writer, and there's no better job than that as a kid to follow your dad from gym to gym to gym and watch him do his craft. And so I became a guy that really loved sports. I loved basketball in particular, and at the ripe age of 8 years old, as a youngster, I decided that I loved it so much. That's all I ever wanted to do my whole life. And
Why did you love basketball? Was
I
it just in your DNA?
I don't know. I think probably it's a combination of three things. Probably the fact that I was in the environment a lot, and because it was my dad's job, I knew athletics to be special and to be important, maybe too important later on in my career as I realized. But it's important, and it was fun to do. The second part was our family friend Dutch Huseman, the head basketball coach at Fort Dodge Senior High School, was there that day, and our he was my idol, is what he was. He's my basketball idol, and he was a tall guy, had a deep voice, and he was in command of all of those big high school guys, and I couldn't figure out how he could do that. I thought that was just amazing, like it was magical, how he could get them to do everything. And then the third part, I think the third part was the first shot I made in our driveway on 18th Avenue North one day as a youngster. And when that thing went in, it went up to the hoop and it stopped and it curled in. And I'm telling you, the euphoria behind making that first shot is, I could probably write a book about it. I mean, it was so profound
Yeah.
and I'll never forget it. And that's the sport I fell in love with.
Well said. And tell me, like, what have you accomplished and what was your downfalls? Because you told me you went to prison, and to be honest, I've been in jail, so it's nothing. We all have to recover from our,
Yeah.
downfall. But tell me,
Yep.
what happened to somebody that brought NBA players into NBA? You brought people that's done been and played for the NBA. Tell me about
Yes.
your
Yes.
ups and downs.
Maybe my proudest one, or one of my proudest ones, is Steve Kerr, the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, who was one of our players at Arizona when I was there as graduate assistant. So, yes, that was a thrill. But it hasn't been. It was never about that. It was just that I got to do something that I thought was enjoyable. I never thought I was going to work, and here I am going to work was in front of 15,000 people at 7:30 at night on national television. I mean, that's pretty cool for anybody. I'm telling you, that to do that for a job. And I loved basketball. I loved the craft, and everything about it. And I coached for 5 years in high school until I became a college coach. And once I became a college coach, I stuck with it for 20 years.
Now, how
And probably
before you
go ahead.
go the high school to college, how did that transition? You know, you have high school students and you have college students. How did you change your craft as a coach?
Huh. Well, that's a very insightful question because it isn't anything that you're ever taught in preparation for coaching. Here I go from teaching a kid who's on the high school JV, right? Who's 15, who's only out because his mom wanted him to go out. He's either that or play the tuba. And he said, I hate the tuba. I'm going out for basketball, right? Okay. Now, on the other hand, I'm getting the opportunity to coach Sean Elliott, who is McDonald's All-American and whose jersey is hanging in the San Antonio Spurs arena. It was an NBA All-Star. So that's quite a range. I think you just listen to the people around you. I was so gifted to be with really strong, experienced, and gifted coaches that I learned a long time ago to listen first and then start to chip in later, a little bit at a time. And it was great advice because I didn't know. In some cases, early on, I was intimidated, by these high school All Americans. I had never coached those guys, so it's a learning curve, and you get it. What they are, they're just big kids, is what they are. I'm telling you, they're as goofy. It's crazy, but they're just big kids, and but what these big kids have to do is they have to go out there and represent their university and play for millions of dollars in a very pressure packed environment like none other as an amateur athlete. Or at the time it was amateur athlete. It's changed a little bit now. But so, yeah, that was kind of an interesting learning curve. But I have to say, and I always repeat it, I was just so gifted to be with top notch people. And I guess I chose the jobs well to apply for is a little bit of the magic behind that. But I'm telling you, some of the best. Lou Olson at Arizona won the '97 NCAA championship. Coach Olson was elected to the Naismith Hall of Fame. It's as high as you can go, and he was my mentor. He was my active mentor as a college coach. How lucky can that 8-year-old be, right? To get a chance to work with and for a guy like Lute Olson. So very blessed, very blessed. I set my goals for coaching. I set three of them. I accomplished two out of the three, which led me into my career. But I will tell you, I led nothing. I'm telling you, it was the Lord's doing. He knew that basketball was going to be a special thing in my life, and He allowed me the opportunity to do that. And it wasn't me. It was well, wasn't. I knew it wasn't the whole every move that was made. I knew I was just very blessed and very fortunate to get that opportunity.
Well said, Randy. You know, I wanted to, I don't like to go to the dark parts, but this is how
Yeah,
I want to talk. I wanted to talk a little bit about you going to prison and what you did to recover from that. Can you tell me a little
yeah,
bit about that?
sure, sure. In kind of short order, we we faced on a fall day in a fall November day in 1992. We faced the death of our 4-year-old child.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear
Uh,
that.
and she got sick at home. She basically passed on the way to the hospital. My wife frantically got her there. I was at basketball practice at Miami of Ohio at the time, and life changed forever that day. There's no blueprint for it. There's no manual. There's nobody that can tell you step one, step two, step three. It was thick mud that hurt like hell for a long time. Um, but blessed with a great family on both sides and wonderful people in our community, we we moved on with life. Um, but about 3 years later, our second oldest daughter came down with the same disease.
Oh, I'm
She was
so
she was hospitalized 3 times, and because we were in Orlando at the time coaching, she was at Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital where they actually saved her, brought her back to life because we thought we had lost her.
Hmm.
but she survived, and she is now 33 years old. She's engaged to be married in the fall, so it'll be our first daughter. Um, I get to walk down the aisle with. It's going to be very special. But 2.5 years later, after that, so we're talking about a 6 year bubble here, Kimberly. Our third oldest daughter died, and we couldn't get her fast enough to the hospital, and they airlifted her to Iowa City, and she didn't make it. So in in six in 6 years, we witnessed those almost losing all three kids, and we were going to then yet have another child, and we had four daughters. I can't I can't even get into what it was like because I don't even remember a lot of it. It was just again horrible. And I really was rough on God. I gave up on him. I said, if you can't help me keep my own children safe, what kind of God are you? It was really a difficult time for me in my faith.
I've done that
But
too before. I've done that too.
yeah, in the heels in the heels of that, I began to make some decisions, Kimberly, that were not the right decision. What I did is I was looking for a place to comfort myself, to soothe, and to make the pain go away, even if for 20 minutes. That's all I wanted, and I did that through three ways. I did it from overworking, massive amounts of hours on the road, and even when we're at home in the office, late in the office, the sting of being around home, very selfishly, was one that was difficult for me, and so I stayed incredible hours in the office. Number two was alcohol. I was a drinker, but I began to drink at a pretty alarming rate because that took me to a place where I could say, "Hey, just give me 20 minutes here, world. Okay, let me feel this feeling I got going on for 20 minutes, and then when I wake up tomorrow morning, it's facing, it's a lack of not wanting to face reality is really all it is. And then the third part of it, with addiction, comes the ability for some addictions to wear out or wear off a little bit, and you're looking for the next sort of high and the next endorphin hit. And for me, it was pornography. And so I lived a secret life of 6 years, Kimberly, with pornography at night. I was the only one other than my maker that knew that I was involved in that. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong 100 different ways, but it did take me to that place. And I thought, if I'm not hurting anybody, I thought so, at least I thought, which I learned later was wrong. Pornography hurts a lot of people. That it was okay, but it wasn't okay. And basically, I was alerted by someone online to the authorities, and at the end of that 6 years, they came and introduced themselves to me, and it was over. My career was done on that day, and I went to federal prison, and I spent 2 years in federal prison. Now, you would ask me, how did I change? How was I able to change? And I have a great answer for that.
Go ahead.
For 6 months, I was the worst person to be around. I was defensive. I didn't feel like I should be there. I was very had just all kinds of defense mechanisms. I had everything built up around me, such that it was like it shouldn't be that big of a deal that I was in prison. Well, I come to find out that these are I come to find out that at my sentencing, the judge recommended that I go to a particular institution in North Carolina called Butner. Butner was one of three sex offender treatment programs in the country, only three. And there was a 10-year waiting list. And I'm like, what am I doing here? How did I just enter this program? I only have a 2 year sentence, and it's 2 years to get through the program. And I just got to pass. I can't explain it to you. I don't know how, why, or whatever, but that is one of the greatest gifts in my life by far. It's almost not close to almost anything else that I was able to be granted admittance into that program. It changed everything in my life, everything that'll happen in my future, everything that'll happen because of seeds that you and I are planting. The ability to be in that. So I was in that program. I was very defensive and very I didn't want to hear them. I didn't want to hear them. But for the first 6 months, but I had a wonderful doctor, Dr. Frazier, who broke me in two at the 6 month mark.
Can I ask
And
you a
when
question?
yes,
You
yes,
said everything you needed to say. The next question, the last question before I move on, is
yeah.
how did you and your wife and your family stick through this? It had to be hard
Uh,
for them as well.
well, my wife gets 100% of the credit. She kept our kids going. She brought the kids to prison, which people would normally wouldn't do. She just wanted to normalize what was very non-normal, right?
Yeah.
But she gets all the credit. She absolutely gets all the credit for keeping her. She kept her job. She had to handle all the scrutiny back at home when I was gone. And she was the one that decided that we were gonna make this marriage work at least at that time, we did for another period of time. But yeah, that's the only way. I mean, when you've got support like that, it's incredible.
Can you do me
So
a
here I
favor?
am in a treatment program, and that was it. That was the message. That was the gift that sent down from God that I was going to be in this program, and I complied, and I learned so much that I could write another book on what I learned at Butner. It was amazing. They absolutely turned my life around for me and with me.
Well said, Randy. I want to know if you can do me a favor though. Do you speak at events about this in length? Do you speak at events?
I do. Yes.
That's a plus. So if you're out there watching, he speaks at events, y'all, and you should
Yes.
call him up or whatever his information is at the end. And do
Right.
you move the crowd with your stories?
I'll tell
You
you.
have. You moved me. I know that.
I move myself first of all every time. Every time. Every time. It's a story that will always be emotional for me, right? Because it's my story. Um, it's crazy. I can see in the crowd eyes. I can see eyeballs, and I can tell who is touched and convicted by this story. I can tell. And then usually when I get done, people will come up and want to say something to me and whatever it may be. And I can see the hurt in people's eyes. I mean, massive hurt. Either their spouse has been involved in pornography, or somebody in their family's been trafficked. I mean, it could be 1,000 things, right? And I
Can I
see the
have you
hurt.
on the show today or tomorrow for a second part of this? Because I have to go do a
Yes,
photo shoot.
absolutely. Yes.
So
Oh,
how
yes,
can the
absolutely.
people find
Let's do
you?
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm curious. How
Yes.
can the people find you, Randy?
People can find me at my website, Coach RB. RB is for Randy Brown. CoachRB.com. And
CoachRB.com.
right. And I'm going to leave an email address too. And it's my initials, RB, at CoachRB.com.
Okay.
RB at CoachRB.com. I will return every call. I will handwrite you a note. I will get on the phone with you, and hopefully I will have a chance to meet some of the folks that hear this message. Because if I can change a life, I'm in a plane and I'll be there, because this is my call right now. The Lord
It is.
gave me this adversity to be able to help others out of adversity, and
Thank
that's
you.
my calling.
Thank you
Yes,
so much, Mr. Brown. I will call you as soon as I'm finished what I'm doing, and we're going to link up again. I want to have you at least on for an hour to tell your full extended story, okay?
awesome. Oh, I would love to, Kimberly. Thank you so much for this
Okay.
opportunity
Thank
to
you,
do this.
guys. You
Yes,
take care.
thank
Be
you.
safe. Bye.